On today's show, a homecoming for Pierre-Luc Dubois as the Capitals take on the Kings. And does Alex Ovechkin hold a grudge against Jack McBain?
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about Logan Thompson and the talk out there about who is the front runner for the Vezina. And it does seem that there are some favorites out there. Connor Hellebuck is the name that is circulated out there as the favorite. But where does Logan Thompson factor in to all the Vezina talk? I'll talk about that a bit later. Alex Ovechkin on McBain. It had to be a hard moment for McBain when he injured what will at one point be the greatest goal scorer of all time. Does Ovi hold any grudges against him? But just to get it going here, the Caps take on the Kings tonight. And a bit of a homecoming for Pierre-Luc Dubois. I know that he didn't spend a whole lot of time playing with the Kings. And to be clear here, that wasn't probably a season that he wants to remember too fondly, as he did not put up some of his better numbers in his time in the NHL. And to a certain extent, will it be revenge for him for a team that in a lot of ways kind of did him wrong? So let's dive into that in this first segment here, talking about Pierre-Luc Dubois. And as many of you know, Dubois had that brief stint with the Kings, spending just one season with the team before being traded to the Caps. That was back in June. And you take a look at it, it was an interesting time when it happened. A bit of a bomb went off, if you will. Like when I heard about that, and all sorts of people were contacting me from Locked On and different sources, like, what do you make of this? And of course, I know Pierre-Luc Dubois' name, and I know that he had a bit of an off season, and there was definitely an overwhelming feeling of negativity. Like, what did the Capitals do? And as someone that hosts a podcast on the Capitals, I kind of questioned Brian McClellan's judgment at first. I'm like, what is he thinking? Why is everyone telling me that this is such a poor deal? I know that we got rid of Darcy Kemper, which was kind of a mismatch on this team, but why did he go all in on Pierre-Luc Dubois? Fast forward to today, it seems like a true stroke of genius. PLD killing it for the Capitals, Darcy Kemper playing well for the Kings. Win. Now, fast forward to now, and Dubois is set to face his former team tonight, while the Caps are riding high, leading the Eastern Conference on a 5-game winning streak. Positivity surrounds this team coming off that big win over Anaheim. And I know Anaheim isn't one of the better teams in the league, but there was some pushback, and, the Capitals playing down to the Ducks. They found a way to rise above on this occasion, and let's hope that they can continue with this positivity on this westerly trip here. But let's talk about Dubois' recent performance against the Ducks. He scored 1 goal and provided 2 assists in that dominant 7-4 victory. Now, it's clear he found his groove, and with the Caps racking up 17 goals and 40 assists this season. So, you got to be thinking as a Kings fan, and if there's any Kings fans out there or any Locked On hosts out there, maybe Locked On Kings, what are your thoughts on Pierre-Luc Dubois and the success that he has had with the Capitals? Is there any maybe we should have just, taken a little bit more time on him, or maybe we shouldn't have been so quick to judge? It's interesting how a change of zip code can do wonders. But all things considered, just based on their lineup and that kind of thing, I don't think that there was ever a scenario where it would have worked well in LA. But He is on track to surpass his career high in points, point total of 63 achieved last season or the season before with the Winnipeg Jets. Now, speaking about his time with the team, Dubois said, "I've been enjoying my time with the Capitals. My teammates have been very supportive, which helps me focus on my game." And that's one of the things is that the Capitals organization was very welcoming to a guy that I think was probably a little uncertain, I guess, to a certain extent about where he fit in the National Hockey League. Obviously, an elite talent. Obviously, had accomplished a lot of great things, but I think that a lot of his confidence may have been dashed a little bit in Los Angeles. And then you hear Tom Wilson reaching out to him. You hear Spencer Carberry reaching out to him. That I think that surrounding him in a positive environment has been huge for his development and ultimately helping him refine his game. But in this game tonight, Ovechkin's pursuit of greatness. Also, let's not forget about the buzz around Ovi as he closes in on Gretzky's NHL record of 894. Can he find the back of the net tonight? Ovechkin is just 9 goals away, and the atmosphere around the Capitals is electric right now. When is it going to happen? It's not this thing that's going to be on the horizon. It is coming into view. In the same game against the Ducks, he didn't score, but assisted 3 times, proving he is still the ultimate playmaker. And, feeding it to Protas when he could have scored yet another goal and gotten that much closer to Gretzky, showing why he is mature and ultimately why he is the captain by feeding it to Protas so he could get his first NHL hat trick. Dubois commented on the excitement saying, quote, "It's fun and exciting. The crowd has mixed reaction when he scores. Half celebrate and half are happy for him," unquote. So quite a moment for Pierre-Luc Dubois. And an interesting position for him to be in, to be on this roster when greatness will happen for the Capitals and Alex Ovechkin. You got to be thinking PLD is thinking to himself, this is the perfect situation for me. And maybe in a lot of ways, he's happy it didn't work out with the Kings. So he found a better home with the Capitals. But in that game, Ovechkin, like I said, assisted on Protas for that NHL hat trick. Protas acknowledged Ovechkin's decision-making, saying, quote, "His willingness to make that play speaks volumes about him as a teammate." But you take a look at it, what the Capitals are up against tonight. Like I've talked about in this segment, it is a bit of a homecoming of sorts, even though, like I said, he didn't play for the Kings for too long, that they will have their work cut out for them. You take a look at the Kings. On the flip side, let's look at the Kings. They've been on a roll, securing 3 consecutive victories and maintaining their place in the Pacific Division standings. So it is not going to be a walk in the park for the Capitals. And as a Capitals fan, I wouldn't have it any other way. I want this team to be put through its paces so we ultimately know what we have in the tank when we make it to the playoffs. But taking a look at it, like I said, Darcy Kuemper mismatch with the Capitals, playing great with the Kings. Darcy Kuemper stopping remarkable shots. That trade is looking for Darcy Kuemper as well. So, it had to be kind of a hard thing for Darcy Kuemper as Charlie Lindgren kind of running away with it. And when Kuemper was first here, the Capitals were kind of just fully rolling out Spencer Carberry's system. So there was a bit of a learning curve. At the end of the day, I'm happy for Kuemper that he has a good home out west as well. But as Philip Deneau pointed out, if he continues to play at this level, we have a real chance to succeed, unquote, talking about Darcy Kuemper and how huge she has been for the Kings. But the Kings need to work on their discipline, having taken 8 penalties against the Islanders and getting lucky that New York couldn't capitalize. So in a lot of ways, got lucky against an Islanders team that is flailing a little bit. Deneau said, at best, we need to address that issue. So to wrap it up, in this segment, it will be a fun game to watch, another late night game to watch. And we're hoping that Pierre-Luc Dubois can really, I don't hate to say it really, stick it to his former team. Wouldn't that be great if Pierre-Luc Dubois could assist on a goal, maybe get a couple goals himself, get in a fight, something to just really say how you like me now. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about Alex Ovechkin and talking about the injury that he faced earlier in the year with that collision with McBain. And ultimately, does he hold a grudge? Did he think it was on purpose? I'll break it all down straight ahead. If you're like me, your mornings have to start with a good cup of coffee, but I got tired of settling for grocery store brands and they just weren't cutting it. That's why I turned to Trade. And let me tell you, this coffee is next level. Trade is the #1 specialty coffee marketplace in the US, bringing you fresh coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Their experts have taste tested thousands of coffees, curating over 450 amazing roasts. Whether you're new to coffee or know exactly what you like, they'll handpick the perfect match for you. I took the quick quiz, and in under a minute, they matched me with a roast that was perfect for me. A great smell, tasted incredible, and was a satisfying experience. My first bag that I had from them was a game changer. It was smooth, rich flavor, and I could actually taste the difference from my usual coffee. So if you do drink a store brand, take a step up in your coffee drinking experience and try Trade Coffee. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering our listeners 40% off your first order at drinktrade.com/lockedonnhl. That's drinktrade, TRADE.com/lockedonnhl for 40% off your first order. Drinktrade.com/lockedonnhl. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. And if there's one thing I loves me some March Madness basketball. And say you're watching these games and maybe you're not too familiar with the teams, or maybe you want vested interest in all the games. Open up the FanDuel app, put a little bit of money on the game. All of a sudden, they got that much more exciting. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can find me over on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. So in this segment, talking Alex Ovechkin in that unfortunate injury that he faced earlier in the season. And the tough moment it must have been for McBain. As I reflect back on that, I've seen the highlights. I don't think it was intentional. But what did the man himself, what did the Great Eight think? Did he think was intentional? And does he hold any bad feelings, I guess, towards McBain? Now, Ovechkin only needs 9 more goals to surpass the all-time goals record, which currently stands at 894. We know he's on track to hit 895 this season, despite a setback from a significant injury earlier in the season. And that's where it was a bit difficult, especially for McBain, I have to imagine. Is say Alex Ovechkin returned, or say it took him much longer than anyone thought to return, and he wasn't able to return to his former glory. How would McBain feel about being responsible for limiting the greatest goal scorer, or at one point the greatest goal scorer of all time? Now, that injury that happened with him during that game, all the way back on November 18th. Isn't that something, how fast time flies? We're already into March. In a lot of ways, just seemed like it was a couple of weeks ago. But when Ovi collided with Jack McBain in the Capitals' 6-2 victory over UHC. Now, at that point, Ovechkin was leading the league with 15 goals and just exploded for 5 goals in the previous 2 games. Things were looking up for the Great Eight. It looked like he was going to be able to catch and pass Gretzky way sooner than anyone thought. And to be clear here, if he had not got injured again with Jack McBain, he probably would have already caught Gretzky and already. So those are the things that have to weigh heavy on Jack McBain. In a recent interview with Sports Express, Igor Rabinir, Ovechkin opened up about the collision and how tough it was to sit out for 16 games while chasing that record. And wishing that he was chasing that record. He expressed disappointment, but also recognized that injuries are a part of the game. And the good thing, in my initial take on it, I remember as I thought, this is a knee injury. This is going to derail. This could very well sideline him for the remainder of the season. As it turns out, he was skating, I think it was days after the injury, just based on the nature of the injury. He was able to do that. So a sigh of relief as Capitals fan. Now, what stood out was his loyalty to his line, which featured Dylan Strome and Alexei Protas as they had been on fire, helping the team perform at an elite level. And, Alex Ovechkin, if he's one thing, in his younger day, he was a bit more of a showboat. He realizes right now that he's in the position that he's in because he's always been surrounded by great players, whether it be Nick Backstrom for many years or Dylan Strome right now, that he can't do it on his own. If it wasn't for Backstrom and Strome feeding those great passes, he would not be the player that we see before us on a night in, night out basis. But you take a look at it. Before Ovi's injury, the Caps top line was dominating, controlling over 55% in key metrics like shot attempts, expected goals, scoring chances, and high danger chances. They outscored opponents 16-5. With each player maintaining a solid point per game pace. So that top line for the Capitals was dialed in, and there was a lot of thought. And, kind of looking back on it almost retrospectively, you think, where would the Capitals be in the standings right now? I know they played well in his absence, but they would have ostensibly even played that much better had he not missed any time. But a mature comeback following that recovery, Ovechkin didn't harbor any ill feelings towards McBain. Because you want to know why? At the end of the day, it's not going to take it back. Jack McBain couldn't take it back even if he wanted to, showing maturity and understanding that injuries are accidental, usually, unless it's a slew foot or something of that nature. And to be clear here, there was some talk out there. Was it potentially a slew foot situation? So I think that Alex Ovechkin realized that he didn't do it on purpose, and I think he can take a more positive attitude now, knowing that he is just so close to Gretzky and that he didn't miss nearly as much time as he potentially could have. But now, since his comeback, Ovechkin has been strong, been working hard. Some people say that he's still not 100%, if you can believe it. He's managed to rack up 28 points. Which is 18 goals, 10 assists in just 31 games. Now, if he keeps on this pace, he is projected to tie Wayne Gretzky's record on April 10th. It is a bit of a moving target, I got to say. There's one game where he'll score 2 goals. There's one game where he's going to score no goals. But that is where everyone kind of has it thrown at the wall. If there's a dartboard right here, just throw it at the wall that it is April 10th. Now, with a chance to break it on April 12th against Columbus. So excitement for the Capitals on top of the world, on top of the Metro. Alex Ovechkin, Joe Beninati will be on the call. That if you are a Capitals fan right now, this definitely has to be a high watermark of your fandom. I know that 2018 was right there, but this almost surpasses it. And it's funny, they haven't won a cup yet, but if we could just freeze the team in time right now, it doesn't seem like it could get any better than this. It can, however, and that would be winning a Stanley Cup. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about Logan Thompson and all the Vezina talk out there. It does appear that it's going to be Connor Hellebuck, but Logan Thompson is right there. What are the odds of him sneaking in there? Is it even possible? I'll give you the latest on LT straight ahead. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all the money go? Between dining out, Online shopping and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So just stop managing your money and start building your wealth. Now, when I started using Monarch, I realized how much money I was spending on food delivery. I budget smarter and save more money. And in this current climate, money doesn't go as far as it used to. I remember when I was a single man, I used to be able to go out and get a cart of groceries, and this is kind of dating me. It was around $20. I go out and buy groceries for my family. It can almost reach $200. So if you can find different ways in your life to save money, do that, and Monarch Money is here to help. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. All right, in the final segment of the show, we're talking about Logan Thompson, LT, how he has been huge for the Capitals all season long. And, there's just been some tough luck, I guess I could say, for Logan Thompson, that he wasn't selected for the Four Nations face-off. But when you take a look at the players that were injured, maybe he got lucky in a lot of ways. And then you take a look at the Vezina race there. And ultimately, is it going to be Connor Hellebuyck? Could it be Logan Thompson? We've heard Shesterkin's name in there. Let's dive into the latest with LT. Now, can you believe it's the first year when the team has already been making such a huge impact? And that impact was brought forth primarily with rock solid netminding in Logan Thompson, brought in last summer when Darcy Kemper went out to the Kings. Charlie Lindgren was here. And, as a Capitals fan and someone that covers this team, I thought to myself, it was going to be Hunter Shepard and it was going to be Charlie Lindgren. Logan Thompson, let me tell you, has been an absolute game changer for this team. With an incredible record of 28-4-5 through just 36 games, he's definitely putting himself in the conversation for the Vezina, which of course goes to the top goalie. But is he better than Connor Hellebuyck? And part of that is that some people, they take a look at Logan Thompson, and for some reason, there is a sour taste left in some people's mouth with how things went out in Vegas. And that ties in with the whole Four Nations thing, that it seems like despite how well he plays on the ice, there's no love for LT. Now, we know that Connor Hellebuyck from the Jets is currently the front runner for that accolade, but Thompson is right in the mix too. Now, Hellebuyck could stumble, LT could catch fire. Stranger things have happened. Now, in fact, a recent article from NHL.com even ranked him as the third best goalie in the league. But honestly, for me, I don't think their ranking fully captures how vital he's been for our team. And, I don't think I'm looking at this with Capitals colored glasses on. I really don't. I just know the eye test. What I've seen on the ice, he has been next level. Now, you could take a look at Connor Hellebuyck. Is he a great netminder? Of course. Is LT a good one? Shesterkin? And I try not to look at this and pick favorites, but I think that Logan Thompson, like I said, has been a game changer. Is he good enough to sneak the Vezina away from Connor Hellebuyck? Now, this season, Thompson has not only been consistent, which what we have needed from him, but exceptional. A career best goals against of 2.36 and a solid save percentage of .916. And, you take a look at it, it all goes from the NHL Edge stats are telling an impressive story. One of the key areas where he absolutely thrives is mid-range save percentage, stopping over 93% of shots from 29 to 43 feet out. That's quite stunning. And, I guess I'm going to say stumbled a little bit in his last game, but big picture, 30,000-foot view, if I'm going to pick a netminder, regardless of who it is in the NHL, Logan Thompson would be one of my front runners. And with those stunning stats that I just told you about, that places him in the 97th percentile among NHL goalies. And it's also the importance of mid-range saves. And why is that important? The Capitals do a fantastic job of limiting high danger shots right in front of the net. But however, sometimes we give up more shots in the mid-range area. That's why LT excelling in that range has been huge. He's really stepping up in a critical zone on the ice and what has put the Capitals in the position that they're in. Not to diminish what Charlie Lindgren has done, but Logan Thompson in large part has helped get the Capitals where they're at right now. And let's not forget about his quality starts. Games where he achieves a save percentage greater than 90%. He's hit those quality starts 61.1% of the outings this season, putting him in the 82nd percentile among goalies. So it is a tight race out there with the likes of Hellebuck, talking Logan Thompson. Can it ultimately be Logan Thompson? As a Capitals fan, you ask yourself that question. Can it be? Well, of course it can be. Ultimately, will it be? I guess it remains to be seen how the rest of the season plays out. One of the things I know is that the Jets are a really good team this year. So that means they're winning a lot of games, and that makes Connor Hellebuck look really good. Also, in that same breath is LT and the Capitals playing really well. That when you're playing sound defensively and it's a team pulling on that collective rope, it's easier for the netminder to do great things. It's not like the Capitals that we've seen from previous seasons where it seems like we're kind of airing the netminder out to dry. We're there for Logan Thompson. He's there for us. That is what has put the Capitals and Logan Thompson ultimately in a great position. Listen, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are what makes this show successful. When you're done here, head on over to Locked On NHL, where they have you covered 5 days a week, covering all of the NHL, available wherever you find your podcasts and on YouTube. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.